So, Karin, you were telling me about your creative process. And I know that your books are a lot more than ands and these. In fact, you're known for being able to take somebody and transport them to a completely different culture and a completely different country. In fact, I think it comes as close to kind of neurologic magic as it can be, because basically what goes from your brain into your fingers and into someone else's brain, and it's a whole sensory experience. So can you tell me a little bit about what is so evocative about this one of your books?
Well, I think when I sit down every day, I'm in San Francisco in front of a computer with my sweats on. So I need to time...
Okay, you're killing a lot of fantasies right now. You do go to Paris to research your books, right?
I do.
So I would say you've suitcased those memories, and then you're in San Francisco in your sweats, and now you're unpacking them. So how do you do that?
I get my
if you had to
maps from...
describe it.
Okay, I take my maps. I get all these great maps from Paris, and I look at the streets, and I have my little tape recorder that I recorded in a cafe or in a bus.
And do you record just sound?
Sounds, the street sounds, the gutter.
So basically you're refiring those neurons all over again.
I need to in my age. But yeah, I need to go to Paris myself to bring back the smells and the sounds and the tastes and those textures of the stone. And so I need cues. Maybe that's what it is.
So this is the cheapest trip to Paris any human could have, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I think is really interesting, as I was mentioning earlier, is the neurologic side of all this and how you can stimulate your brain and keep it healthy and, you know, get people both thinking outside their usual rut. Now, one of the things that's distinctive about your books is that your characters aren't typical either. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the unusual main character in this one of the books of your series?
Amy Leduc, my half-American, half-French detective. Well, she's taller and thinner than I am, and she wears heels, and she has a penchant for vintage couture and bad boys, and very unlike me, of course.
Oh, well, we won't go there, yes.
Well, yeah, forget that. But, yeah, she's someone who's a sort of composite of several people I've met. A girlfriend I have over there, and so I think when I'm bringing out a character, it's kind of bits and pieces from different people, or a gesture, or the way people run to catch a bus, and I observe a lot. I get very sponge-like when I'm in Paris, and I'm just absorbing everything, and maybe when I come home, I filter it through, and then I spew.
Now, you are very geographically realistic also, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand there are people who try to recreate the path of your character in Paris.
They can follow, in my book, there is a map, and they can follow where Amy goes and what happens at this place.
Wow.
And people do. So I know I need to be geographically correct.
And do you have a clash between realistic detail that you've described so well and then this made-up person? Or do you feel like you have pasted her together so thoroughly that she feels, in your mind, when you're dealing with her, as real as everything else that
She feels real to me. I've known her for 10 years.
Wow.
When I started developing her for Murder in the Marais, my first book, I didn't know who she was. So.
Did you guys ever have fights?
Well, her taste in clothing is much better than mine,
Oh,
so I
okay.
just bow to her. But I think what helped me know her was to just take her handbag, empty it out on a table, and see what she would have
Wow.
inside. So each book I've gotten to know her better, and it's been 4 years in her fictional life.
Wow.
So, it's like I'm...
And she's evolving as a character, too.
She is.
Now, can you tell me about her partner, who plays a big role in this?
René Friant. He's a dwarf. He's a computer hacker extraordinaire. And they were actually classmates at the Sorbonne, though she went into pre-med. And when she inherited the detective agency from her father, who was killed in this mysterious bomb explosion in Place Vendôme, she was a licensed PI, but she wanted to go away from criminal work. So she thought, well, how about computer security? And René, who was a hacker extraordinaire, she sort of drafted him to come over and focus on computer security. And now he's a partner in the business.
And he has some medical issues in this book, right?
He does, and you know very well about those since you advised me on many of them.
Well, it's really interesting, I think, that so many writers now almost write a book to sell the screenplay. And by picking someone who has something as distinctive as dwarfism, it's almost like you've made that challenge a little difficult for whoever would want to pick up the screenplay. But he is such an adorable character, and his issues make him so appealing and almost vulnerable. But at the same time, he really is a rounded person and has many different aspects to him.
Thank you. But you know, when he is shot and he is in the hospital and Amy goes to see him, what I thought was most poignant, and I think we had discussed this, was that the only hospital clothes that would fit him were children's clothes.
Yeah.
So he's in there with hospital clothes with trucks on them, and
Yeah.
he's a man, and you know, and I really wanted to bring that out. You know, these are common issues that he faces every day. You know,
And aren't often discussed.
no, and he can't see above things. He's got this pain from the hip dysplasia,
And we talked also about how doctors, you know, especially in a trauma circumstance, often aren't equipped to deal with people who are.
right, they have to use pediatric instruments, which aren't readily at hand. So
Yeah.
it's a great detail to know too.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about, without any spoilers, what is the exciting part of this book? Every one of your books seem to revolve around a really intricate set of historical or political issues. Can you tell us a little bit about what this one can bring to readers?
Well, it's 4 years later after the first book, and what Amy discovers leads her back to her first investigation in the Marais.
Oh.
There are secrets, there are half-truths that have been suppressed, and she must go back again to the Marais, even though the book is set in the Palais Royal, this wonderful decayed aristocratic quartier. But she goes back and discovers things, and I think it mirrors what France was going through at that time, because they were facing the past of the Vichy and the Nazi collaboration through this trial in Bordeaux with Maurice Papon. But there's two really exciting scenes that I really enjoyed writing. One is in the Louvre. She actually goes in the Louvre,
Oh, how fun.
but not the normal Louvre.
Oh, did you get to do this?
I cannot say for legal reasons. Certain parts of the Louvre that are not available to most people.
How? Yeah, another reason to get this book. You get the behind-the-scenes tour of the Louvre as part of it.
Yeah, and I went under the tunnels of the Palais Royal, which actually exists.
Wow.
And there is a sex club in right across from the Palais Royal, and I had to go do research. What
Oh,
can I
of
say?
course, yes. It's a tough life.
It's one of these clubs where they're called échangistes, and you would never know it. Anyway, so I set a scene there. It was really kind of fun.
That is very exciting. Well, thank you for sharing time with us.
My pleasure.
This
Thank
is
you.
great. And like I said, if anybody wants the world's most exciting and cheapest trip to Paris, this is it.
Yeah, without the airfare.
Exactly, especially these days.
Yeah, thank you, Jen.
Thank you.